few months ago, I was at a local coin laundromat. I went late because I'd been studying around 10 p.m. The laundromat is pretty small, closer to the edge of the beach town I live in. The town is pretty well known for drifters and people experiencing homelessness. Most people are friendly and there's a lot of drug use, but I never really felt scared. Everything was fine until I moved my laundry to a dryer. I was listening to music on my headphones, but not super loudly. Suddenly, I got the feeling that someone was watching me. I can't really explain it, I just felt the presence. I turned around and there was a man standing just a few feet away from me. He was a white guy with pink hair wearing a full face mask, like a ski mask, a hoodie, gloves, and sunglasses, even though it was dark out. The gloves and sunglasses especially immediately made me feel uncomfortable. I thought maybe he was a drifter, or high, but I didn't want to be rude. I tried to laugh it off. I told him he surprised me. He immediately started talking. A lot of it was disjointed and just didn't make sense. He was talking about coming up from Brazil to bring his brother money to get a classic car. None of it made much sense, but he would ask me questions and wait for me to respond, so I tried to play along. I still thought he was probably just high or something, but he was just standing between me and the only door. I started to get this gut feeling that he was blocking the door on purpose, not just accidentally as he talked to me. He was getting closer to me as he talked, and the feeling got stronger. Logically, something was off, but mostly I just had this feeling in the pit of my stomach that I needed to leave, and keep him talking until I could. I started to edge to the side, but he stayed in front of me, and the feeling got more intense. I started to grip my keys in attack position, just in case. He talked more, then backed off a little. He took off his backpack, which was a child's unicorn backpack, and set it on a nearby dryer. I looked over to the door for just a second, and when I looked back, he was pulling something I couldn't see out, and holding it to the side. Behind him, where I couldn't see it, but I did see what was in his backpack. Duct tape. Immediately, it was just like an alarm went off. There was no more worrying about being rude, no more second guessing myself that he was just off but harmless. It was like this cold, numb dread just washed down over me. I almost felt calm, like I knew the next steps. Like I knew I had to do something. Time seemed to move in slow motion, and he turned back to me, not saying anything anymore, and took a step forward. I gripped my keys as tightly as possible, and tried to mentally prepare to fight. I remember being afraid I would move too slow or be too weak, like in a nightmare. But all of a sudden, the door to the laundromat opened and a woman walked in, barely even looking at us as she went to get her laundry. It was like a scene in a movie. A moment of intensity just interrupted by something, and suddenly it's over. He just turned, got his bag, and left. I was so scared, I just stayed there for a minute, until I could get my laundry and just go home. I didn't report it. I never knew what to say since nothing had actually happened. But when I think about it, I think the scariest thing is that he left as soon as someone walked in. If he was just crazy, it wouldn't have mattered. I think a laundry dryer timer saved me from something terrible. I don't go to the laundromat anymore. I joined a laundry service. The extra cost is worth it to never go back. So, I'm a custodian at a local high school. My shift is 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. We have a pretty large performing arts center, and I honestly hate cleaning it at night because it's always dark, and when I go in, I have to search around with my phone's flashlight until I can get to the light switch. In the back of the PAC, there's a classroom, 2 bathrooms, and a makeup/costume room where there are at least 8 mirrors each on both sides of the room facing each other, creating an infinity mirror. It terrifies me to go in there and look into them most of the time. My first experience happened when I was out there with a coworker. He's more sensitive to energies and feels them right away, whereas I don't really notice shifts in them unless they're pointed out or they're majorly different and noticeable. We walked into the makeup room and he stopped and said, "Did you feel that? The change in energy?" I told him no, but then I left and came back into the room maybe 5 minutes later, and since I was already thinking about it, I instantly picked up a heavier, deep feeling in the atmosphere when I walked in. I described it to him and he said that's what he felt too. Off and on, I'll hear things rattle like doors and things around the back of the building where the makeup room is, and I'll feel uneasy, but it wasn't until I had my fiancé start working with me yesterday and things got more pronounced. She used to be a weekend and had dealt with a lot more paranormal and demons who stayed with her for years, and on top of that, she's an empath, so she's more susceptible to energy shifts and entities. I made the mistake of talking about the weird feeling and sounds I get when I'm in there while we were cleaning in the back of the PAC, and when she was walking around, she said she felt something brush her back. We walked through the doorway to the bathroom, and it got significantly colder, even though we were in there no longer prior, and it felt the same temperature as the other rooms. When she pointed it out and we were talking about it, I started hearing small voices, and I couldn't tell if I was just making it in my head or if the squeaky door I was leaning against was doing it, but I told her to stop talking and I stopped moving the door, and then she heard it too for a second. We left and had my coworker come in and help us, and after that he was done. He left the building with us across the room, and by the time we got the hallway to the door, we felt cold for a second, then back to regular temperature. People are telling me it's a possible poltergeist, given the fact that they're created unintentionally, and because it's a theater building where plays go on. Someone could have been really into a character, or angry, or accidentally created it. Others have said it was most likely intentional. This month marks 2 years since my friend passed away of a heroin overdose. I was 21 at the time, and I never thought I would see my friends laying in a casket until I was well old in age. It's a day I never want to relive as long as I'm young. For months, I questioned everything. Why did he do that, when it seemed like his life was finally headed in the right direction? Why did God take away someone from us like that? Was there something I could have done? The majority of the answers I could come up with was, I don't know. A few months had passed. I got a new job at a psychology office that worked with autistic children, teens, and adults, as well as family therapy as the office manager. I had only worked there for a couple of weeks at this point. I was getting patient charts ready for the therapist for the day. As I was flipping through the charts, I saw a familiar name. Michael Stewart. I thought to myself, okay Ash, there's plenty of people with that name. It's common. Don't start thinking crazy. I pulled his chart and checked the birthday, and I saw that this Michael Stewart had the same birthday as my friend. Now I'm thinking crazy. I pull out the picture I have of him from his funeral and look at his birthday just to confirm. And yep, that's the birthday. I catch my boss at lunch and ask her, hey, it's cool if you can't tell me due to HIPPA reasons, but I found a chart that very much seems like my friend who just passed away in November. If I show you a pic, can you confirm it's him? And sure enough, she told me that yes, it was in fact my friend, and that he used to come here and see one of the therapists for autism-related therapy and for drug addiction, which wasn't something that this therapist normally did, and suggested I should talk to her and let her know. I did just that, and found out that my friend's parents, while I loved them, were extremely hard on him. He didn't really have a good record with them, and they didn't trust him a lot. He got into heroin because of weed's strong smell. They always knew he had it on him. He thought heroin would feel the same as weed, and his parents wouldn't be able to smell it. From there, he got addicted, and while his life was doing better, and his parents weren't always checking on him, he couldn't stop doing heroin. After this, I knew very well his spirit was alive. I lived in DFW at the time, and out of thousands of psychology offices, I worked at the one he went to. And let me tell you all, I do not think that this was a coincidence. I think he had a lot to do with that.